welcome Detroit Black and White, a Wednesday edition. I'm Adolph Mongo, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit, co-founder. How you doing, Allan?
I'm doing all right. Good evening.
Well, at one time, Allan had hair just like I did. I'm not going to show my picture. There it is. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Vanessa Moss.
Good
Vanessa
evening.
Moss. How you doing?
I'm fine. Good evening to Detroit Black and White viewers. If you're watching, we want you to hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. And we also want you to participate. Feel free to join the chat and make your comments. For Detroit Black and White, you can catch us every Wednesday and Friday from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 o'clock p.m. Welcome to Detroit Black and White. Like. You can find us on all social media platforms.
Jim Nardone, how you doing, Jim?
I'm doing good. Thank
law enforcement guy. Welcome back. See, we don't have Eric tonight. I was gonna mention Eric last week talked about the young man at Southern University. Here he is.
There he is.
Eric Brown, how you doing? Eric?
I'm good. How's everyone?
Well, you breaking up a little bit. We doing
I'm not on mute.
It's on you.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, with regard to the situation at Southern University,
tell us the real scoop. We're not going to stay on it long.
The truth.
The real deal.
The truth has come out, and they actually were at a warehouse. They were not at a park as originally stated. It was 3 a.m, and I'm not sure if one of the members of the organizations told it all or one of the pledgees, but at the end of the day, they were being beaten. He got hit in the chest, and he collapsed, ended up dying.
That's manslaughter, ain't it, Vanessa?
All day long. This, we're not going to spend a lot of time with this, but when we talked about it Saturday, I think it's true for all of us. When you have your family members go away to school, you want them to get an education, you want them to have fun, but you don't want is for them to come back home in a body bag, and that is really, really, really sad. These young people that was involved in this, man, their future is looking very, very bleak. Just a really, really sad situation. I talked to one of my colleagues today in court, and he talked about how his son had actually became a member of an organization that he's in, and that he said that somebody knocked his son's tooth out, and he was really pissed off about it. But fortunately, it wasn't his life or anything like that. It just goes to show that some people will do, especially when you're young like that, they will do anything to be a part of a group. And that's really unfortunate, because he had to know on some level that, what is wrong. They was off campus, so they knew they weren't supposed to be doing that. With some unauthorized.
But that don't stop these folks from hazing people. Listen, there has been countless of deaths in the military during boot camp. 1 year, the Marine Corps at Parris Island lost 6 recruits, drowned. Overzealous drill instructors. They used to beat you up. They did all kind of stuff. Oh, that makes you a man or a person, etc. I never understood it on the college level, where I used to see kids that was pleasuring beat up, and after 2 weeks of not sleeping and stuff, not going to class because some asshole who think, okay, I'm the big brother or the big sister, I could control you. I could never fall for that.
But you know what, Adolph, I will say this. This does not speak to everybody's experience. And this does not speak to all the organizations. Everybody does not experience those kind of things, and it goes to, in my mind, it goes to people do what you allow them to do to you. So I will say that for myself, I never experienced anything like that. I know a few people who have experienced things, something similarly, and they felt like it was part of the process, and makes them that much of a better member, I guess. I don't know, but that was not my experience, and I certainly do not support anything like
But
that.
knowing what I know now, I mean, I'd be the first to say, as a grown man that's been in my organization for over 41 years now, the shit is stupid. You allow things to be done to you that you should not, and you have people that do it for acceptance. And I've said for probably about 10 years now that we are one death away from extinction. That's all Black organizations, no matter if your organization is a part of it. They call themselves divine. So you can't walk away from the divine moniker when one organization does something stupid. It's unfortunate. You don't go to school to come back home in a body bag. And for this guy to have lost his life, 20 years old, an engineering major with a great GPA, and for this foolishness to kill all the dreams and hopes of his family as well as himself, whatever happens to these individuals, I will have no sympathy whatsoever. If all of them get charged,
it happens at other schools, Eric. Not just,
I know that. I mean, but they got caught. They the ones that got caught.
And
so
they got to happen at Cornell, Princeton, all these places. But you know what? Maybe you can get somebody on a national level from Omega or whoever to talk about hazing and stuff. But
they don't talk about it, Adolph, because far too often these organizations look the other way. They know it goes on, but they look the other way. It's about the money, it's about the membership. And then the sad part about it, you only have 20% or less that are active when everything is all said and done. So again, we put ourselves in these situations. If this is the event that will cause no more undergraduate pledging, so be it. We bought it on ourselves.
Okay, well, we're going to continue to talk about this. And we'll see what the outcome of this. Marlon Hope says his outrage is Al Green and not the one that love and happiness. You know what?
Different Al Green, not the Reverend.
Listen, you know what? The Republicans full of shit. They crying foul. They disrespected Obama, Biden. They said all kind of crazy stuff. And yet they don't want you to say not one damn thing about that guy that was talking last night. Al Green, you my man. You know they're gonna censor you. You know they're gonna pat you on the butt and say you can't do this or can't do that. Yeah, Al.
I was going to say I second that for Al Green. For both Al Greens, but for the one last night who yelled. I mean, first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene during the Biden speech, she was yelling shit at him, wearing a MAGA hat, all this crazy shit. Second of all, I generally am not in favor of people yelling during presidential addresses to the Congress, but considering Donald Trump, one, has no respect for any of those people out there, has no respect for the presidency, is doing such crazy shit, like wanting to lay off 80,000 people off of the Veterans Affairs, wiping people off the Weather Service who can predict, to tell people to get the hell out of Dodge, 5 days in advance. They're putting the country in peril. And for people to sit there and pretend it's normal, I totally condone everything that happened in terms of the Democrats. Should have been more. They should have all walked out.
Well, if you look at Parliament and you see the opposing parties, man, they calling each other names all day, right across the aisle and stuff. People have debates and stuff. But I think we take it a little bit personal when we in control. They supposed to respect the president. Kid Rock said, "Oh, he mad at Michelle Obama. She didn't respect the office because she didn't show up for the inaugural." He didn't go to Joe Biden. He skipped everything. How do you can't have it both ways? Go ahead.
Listen, you know what? Day says the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves. Listen, if you can dish it out, you might as well take it. As Adolph said previously, you even had, I believe, a Supreme Court justice that shouted out one time, called the president a liar. Listen.
No, it wasn't a justice.
Listen, if you cannot, if you're gonna dish it out, baby, you need to be able to take it. And you know what? Any party, I don't care if you're a D or R, if you feel compelled to act that way, guess what? You're no better than the other person. Both of it is sorry on both sides, as far as I'm concerned. But if you push me, you're gonna get pushed back.
I also, let me say real quick, and I'll toss it to Eric. But when I see Trump shaking the hands of all the Supreme Court justices, I mean, those conservative ones, that bothers me. I find it very, they're already suspect in terms of their integrity. And this guy is shaking their hands and schmoozing with them. There should be a total separation. It shouldn't be allowed, at least in public. The public perception is horrible.
But if that is across the line, Jim.
Let's say thanks to everybody. Bruce, Sanford, Marlon, Whitney Clark, thank you. Same Day Parlay, Dwelia. I have a hard time with her name.
Dweila. Her name is
Dweila. Sorry, Dweila. Deborah.
And Whitney Clark.
Alicia, Day, our old friend Day. And I just, Alan, you started with, I think you said Trump won. I think you meant O-N-E. But here's the story. Trump, W-O-N. He won, all right? And you have to ask yourself this question. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but there is some success there. Whether you like it or not, we can hate the player all we want. But he's having some success down on the border. And that Doge, whether you like it or hate it, whether it's Elon Musk or whether it's
we got a Nazi. Jim, Elon Musk is a Nazi, apartheid, a person that says that his folks in South Africa getting a raw deal. They own 95% of the fucking property. And when do it end?
You worked in government. It doesn't have to be Elon Musk. It could be Deborah Dingle. All right, it could be in charge of Doge. Somebody needs.
But it's Elon Musk.
You worked in government. You understand the waste in government. There's some progress there, whether we like it or not. Let's look at the big picture. Go ahead.
We all know. We all know that there's fat in the government, that you can pay $5,000 for a wrench or whatever. We all know that. But just to lay off 83,000 folks in the Veterans Administration, to weigh out thousands without even really looking at it. Say, I'm gonna put everybody on the street, and then we're gonna assess the situation.
Jim, I think it's insanity to applaud Elon Musk. Look, we all want to save money. We all have grown up knowing the government overspends and that there could be cuts in the proper places. But what they are doing is eliminating agencies without any congressional approval. They're laying off 80,000 here and 50,000 here and 20,000 here. There's no thought to it.
I'm not arguing the process. I'm not arguing the process. I'm not arguing the process, Alan. What I'm arguing is there's
the process.
The people that are fans of the guy believe that there's some success,
but they're gonna get hurt. The same people that said put Trump in when he started cutting across the board. Yep.
I think you're absolutely right.
But it's still, it still goes back to, and I'm gonna continue to say this. There's an opportunity fuck the Democratic Party first and foremost. The electorate had an opportunity way back in January to say we don't want Joe Biden. When Joe Biden said he's going to run for re-election, there was an opportunity for those that love the Democratic Party to demand better. Then on July 21st,
let me ask you this though.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, I think people spending too much time being mad. People spending too much time being mad about something they had a chance to control it not happening.
Eric,
the election is over with.
Are you upset?
The election is over with.
Eric, are you upset?
Okay.
I mean, understand, every single day,
First break.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, we whoever Democrat had an opportunity, but they didn't. So that's water under the bridge.
It's irrelevant.
We watched last night.
It's not irrelevant because at what point are you going to say yourself? We should have done that. Move to 2028. Move to 2028. It's irrelevant. How's it irrelevant, Allen? The motherfucker lost. The Democratic Party lost. How's it irrelevant?
You know what? It sounds like you so pissed off that the Democrats lost, you want to kill all the Democrats. So they lost.
No, I'm pissed that people spend so much time talking about it. We got illiterate kids. That's not what happened on November 5th.
That's why we got 5 different viewpoints.
Yeah,
so
Eric.
You can talk
listen.
listen.
Okay, listen. Let me get in here. And the forum that I work in every day, we usually allow the one person to talk, and then you kind enough to let the other person talk. And sometimes we get heated, but listen, this is what I want to say. I have a problem with you're not holding everybody accountable, because it's not just us feeling like the Democrats need to be held accountable. The Republicans as well. And so when we make comments about F the Democrats, you know what? F the Republicans who don't give a doggone about us as American people. That's how I see it. I don't think
the party system is fucked up, and as we know it, and so everybody's getting the shaft. And we're not going to spend a lot of time. I'm not letting Donald Trump get in my head tonight.
Yeah, let me just say.
Go ahead. You get the last word.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Eric. Yes, look, Trump won. We all accept that. But that doesn't mean
I can't tell.
Listen, let me talk. It doesn't mean we roll over and play dead till the next election. He's doing crazy shit. People need to stand up. It doesn't matter. We don't care. He won. That's accepted. But you pretend like you have no rights now. You lost. You have to shut up till the next election. And that's total bullshit.
Okay, let's move on. City Council said that the proposal to make the Rinsen a historical district, no. Only one person voted for it. Your take on it, Allan?
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment. Say that
Thanks,
again.
Deborah. Thanks, Deborah, for keeping us in line out there.
She said no drinking on the show.
I was.
Go get me a glass of wine.
We need drinking on the show.
Okay, we're talking about the Rinsen not being designated.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, who cares really if it's what is it designated as? I mean, they need to do something smart with it. I mean, whether it's historic designation or stuff, I think it's irrelevant. That's my.
Well, can it be? Can it revitalize the riverfront, Jim?
I think it can. I think it absolutely can. It's just a matter if they have the resources to do it, and if they have the heart to do it.
Eric?
Between the Riverwalk and the numerous destinations along the riverfront, they have the opportunity to make it a very, first of all, it's already walkable, but they have an opportunity to make it a destination spot from the whole riverfront, starting with the Ambassador Bridge all the way down to Belle Isle. But designating a historical spot, no.
Why can't we, other cities, you go to San Diego, you go to Miami, especially Miami, you go see all these restaurants on the water and all kind of stuff. And here in Detroit, they always have some group pop up. The Friends of the Slums, the Friends of Belle Isle, the Friends of
Tiger Stadium
Street. They trying to save it. And then they had all these people talking about save the Renaissance Center. I said, where these people come from? The same people that didn't want to tear down the old cast that was a fire hazard, asbestos, and all that shit. They want to keep Tiger Stadium. It's empty, but they didn't want to tear it down. What's the deal here in Detroit, Vanessa?
So listen, as far as the Renaissance being designated as a historical site, I think the city council made the right call. Can the Renaissance Center be repurposed? We just had George Davis on the show. I'm sorry, George
Jackson.
George Davis, if you're watching, what's up? We just had George Jackson on the show a few weeks ago, and we talked about, repurposing that area. I think, as somebody said, they have the money to do it. So I think it was the right call for city council to not designate it as a historical, landmark or whatever you want to call it, and that they can repurpose it. I'm glad that you brought up city council, because I think I told you guys before I got on the show, I saw some city council members today at a community meeting that I attended. It was quite interesting. And one of our viewers, Whitney Clark, was there. He spoke. He did
How did he do?
He did. Actually, he was very impressive. I was getting ready to leave, and he asked me to stay because I think he wanted me to hear him speak. And he did a very good job. We had a Councilwoman Mary Waters who was there, and I you know what? I'm going to say this about her. I think she's a hard worker, and I find it very impressive, because I think whoever our leaders are, whoever we select as our leaders, it doesn't matter who's in DC. It is your duty. I believe it is your duty to have a relationship with those people. In other words, to take your hand and reach across the aisle. There was an article in the paper a few days ago about how the Secretary of HUD will be coming here to the city of Detroit, and Mary Waters was the person that was the conduit for that to happen. And I think that's very important, because Detroit is a Democratic city. We have Democratic mayors. We've in the past. We're going to have one in the future. But it's important that you have relationships, not just with people in Lansing, but also people in DC. So I thought that was great. We had another gentleman that's running for city council. I forgot his name, but we have someone who was formerly on city council, and he didn't win his bid to get on city council again.
But about Roy McAllister.
Roy McAllister is he was quite impressive. We also had mayoral candidates. Fred Durhal was there. You also had Whitney Clark, like I said. You also had gosh, what was the guy? He was on our show a couple of years ago. He's running for mayor. We had
the party store owner, or was it?
No,
Yeah.
his last name started with an H. He had the wife and had a whole lot of children.
Yeah, that's him. He had a party store. He accused us. He had no agenda. He was wasting his
Listen, if you had been at that meeting, I'm telling you, it was very interesting, because he had some people that came in there, and he came in the meeting very late. But it became very apparent to me as an observer that these people were there for him. And they asked some very pointed questions to Fred Durhal. It was almost combative. And then they also asked a question of, they were very combative with, and I'm telling you, it was very valid questions. There was the city of Detroit water and sewer department was there. Someone from there was there, and they were talking about this payment plan where you paid.
They'll wait because the Great Lake controls. They supersede the Detroit Water Board. Listen, they spent 50 years trying to get control of the water. They got it.
Yep.
And we still got a water problem. And we got these politicians that's running, and nobody would stand up and have a real game plan. I'm waiting to see the fireworks. Eric,
to your point, Adolph, the question you asked, about all these auxiliary groups coming in and taking over the city is easy to do because they don't respect the electorate. When you have an electorate turning out at less than 20%, they feel that the people are out of touch. Of course, it starts at the top of the ticket, but there is not someone inspiring enough. People have just not come out to vote, and that's how you have so many other auxiliary groups coming in. You got a mayor of Midtown, you got a mayor of Rosedale Park. They just don't respect the citizens because they feel the citizens are so disconnected from being in touch with those that they elect or not elect.
I'll tell you how you can get people to vote. Say it's illegal for Black folks in the city to cast a ballot, and then you see people running to cast a vote. Oh, they're protest or whatever. I tell you, voting it should be a priority, and I don't just blame the voters for not voting. I think over the years, these politicians they suppress a large number of the population into not voting because they look at seniors and they look at this group, and that's all they concentrate on.
But you know what? The other thing is this. You can't just, your job isn't done just because you cast your ballot. Okay? Casting your ballot is just one part of it. You still have to be engaged. You still have to be involved, and you have to hold people accountable. You have to have an agenda. If you're just casting a vote, what difference does it make? Really, what difference does it make?
Well,
that's a good point, Allan.
Assuming, and you're giving these people power, and you're just ceding power and control to these people, and they're supposed to answer to you.
And Allan or Adolph, do either of you know that Malachi guy?
Who?
Malachi. That's his first name. Barrett, I think is his last name.
What about it?
He does a lot of work with Bridge Detroit magazine.
What about it?
Oh, okay. He covers City Hall.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the City Hall cover. Yeah, so him and Steve Henderson have a new show, and Malachi hit the nail on the head. He said whatever candidate for mayor makes education an agenda item, they should have the best chance of winning.
Well, they've been listening to me.
I think so, because actually came up in the meeting today, the community meeting today. There was questions from the audience about education. So yeah, I think so. So yeah, that was part of the conversation tonight.
If I was running for mayor, my campaign would be fire Vidi, revitalize the city. You know what? I'll run against his record. It's the way you do it.
Your record is horrendous. I mean, it is.
They're not.
It's horrendous.
We had Fred Durham, nice guy. I like Fred, but Fred though he didn't want to get into a pissing contest against the school board, and it's like an unwritten rule. We can't say this.
I don't think they can avoid it. I don't think they're going to be able to avoid it. And if you have been at that meeting tonight, listen, that meeting got very, very hot. And I will give Fred Durhall his props. I was surprised because
Fred ain't scared now.
Look, no, he ain't. No, she brought it to him, and he stood his ground. So it was very interesting, but it definitely was part of the conversation tonight. So I think it has gained some traction. It's going to get more traction, and we're going to hear a whole lot about it.
Okay, we're going to take a break and come back.
And next week, the event. Okay.
We'll be back. I'll come to you, Eric, because this is Detroit in Black and White with Allan Lengel, Jim Nardone, Eric Brown, and Vanessa Moss.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, something interesting came out today that the two young folks
I was hoping you would bring that up.
died in the van did not die from freezing. They died from carbon monoxide. I'm not surprised if you riding around parked in a building enclosed trying to stay warm. Vanessa,
But
is that enough to charge?
Listen,
Is that
but
enough to
listen,
charge
remember when you talked about this story and I said, listen, my gut tells me something is not right about this story. Now, I recall the story being that she ran out of gas.
Run out of gas. Because you can't, she didn't run out of gas.
The story is going to continue to unfold. Watch. Because that story did not make sense. You can't, and she said herself, if you guys remember, she said, I don't think they died of hypothermia. She said that herself. She said that herself.
Not only two died of carbon monoxide, not the other folks.
So, because they weren't in the car. That's what they weren't in the vehicle. That's
They had a question about removing people from office, and I think probably recall or removal from the governor can remove some people from office, I believe. And
but the governor,
they have to do something.
Yeah, it's like Granholm. She was going to remove Kwame only because they was piling on Kwame at the end, and that's when she got some fucking balls. Okay, now she was flexing her muscle.
I'm sorry. And Sanford had a question about, and I'll just call it Trump's alignment with North Korea and Vladimir Putin, and we should all be concerned with that. The point I was trying to make earlier, and I'd like to make it again, is don't let your hatred, your biases and your hatred destroy your objectivity. A lot of these people, we can disagree with 90% of what they believe in, but it doesn't mean they're not making some progress in some areas. And I think that people in this last election, unfortunately, they voted for bad leadership instead of no leadership. And I think that's something we have to identify.
Yeah, we got to live with it, Allan.
I agree with Jim. I mean, we can't discount. I can't say everything that Trump done has been bad, but we have to look at the totality of how he's doing it, how he's treating people. It's like, and I'm going to reluctantly mention this, but Hitler did a lot for unemployment, and
what did he do?
He cut the unemployment sharply.
Yeah, he put them out. He put half the population in the military, and the other half in concentration camps.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But,
so getting back to your question, Adolph, about the update with the young lady. Keep in mind, we still have not heard anything about whether or not there were cameras in that garage and what that information revealed. And is that garage enclosed? I don't think it is. I've gone to okay. So listen,
David says
that whole I said it from the beginning, something's not right. Now, do I feel bad for those innocent children? Absolutely. Do I smell a rat? Yes. Did I smell a rat a month ago? Absolutely. So we're going to continue to watch and monitor this.
Yeah.
See
What do you mean?
That the mother has something to do with. Well, you need to go to New Mexico and solve Gene Hackman and his wife.
You know what? We had it's very similar. I think he died. She had a heart attack. She was this is what I think happened. She was going to get the medicine for him, and she had a heart attack and died. We had a similar incident some years ago that was just, it was, I don't want to get into too specifics, but two people, same apartment.
Nobody saw him for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, there are some people who don't talk to family members, and some people just live like that.
Yeah, his daughter said they hadn't been on talking terms for a few months. And, if not for the caretaker, obviously they didn't get things done on a weekly basis.
Who was Miss Williams? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric.
If they're not for a caretaker, then you know, because they had been dead for, I think, 2 or more weeks based on the coroner's report.
Par Orga says, counselor, he's talking to me. You are entirely wrong about Miss Williams. Is that the young lady's name, the
Probably.
mother of the children?
Yeah.
And he said, we need you to engage in critical thinking and analysis. Oh, thank you so much for Par Orga for being such a fan of Vanessa Moss. I would have you to know that I engage in critical thinking every day, all day. Now, you may not agree with what I say or agree with my critical thinking, and that's okay. All I want you to do is continue to watch, continue to hit that like button, and guess what? Subscribe and tell your friends about the greatest show on this side of the United States, Detroit in black and white. Thank you.
P.T. Barnum,
Hey,
great grandfather.
Thank you, fan.
Go ahead.
And then to get back to your educational piece, the event on the 15th of March, I intentionally have students on the panel because I think people need to hear from the students of what's going on in these schools. Because I had a conversation yesterday with a teacher that was so disheartening that we really have to get involved in these schools. You can't have third graders 3 grades behind. They're never going to play catch up. You can't have 8th graders 3 grades behind, which means that as an 8th grader, because the scores are from the 8th grade, which they are in the 9th grade now, they're 3 grades behind. By the time they become seniors and graduate, they're going to be lost in the world. So education, if we don't see the importance of education in the urban community, then we are also responsible for and being complicit in the miseducation of these students. We have to something has got to change because this is not a new problem. And that's why anyone that's running for the mayor needs to go after the superintendent. He has been a failure since he's been here. No one is talking about it. They keep talking about how good of a job he's doing. They gave him a raise in 2021, blaming the fact that COVID was the reason why he couldn't do better. No, he couldn't do better because he has no intentions on doing better based on how bad things were before he got here. And people can say we sometimes play the race card. Had Nikolai Vitti name been Leroy Johnson, his ass would have been fired by now.
Well, let me ask you this,
maybe not.
Lengel, let me ask you this. If you had a kid, would you send them to DPS?
Some schools. Chaos.
No, maybe all our schools are full.
Some of the charter schools, it would be very selective.
Jim?
Would I send my kids to Detroit schools?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the school district to even say that. It just would be unfair for me to comment on it. I don't know enough, but Queen Bee makes the best point of all is that it's not just the teachers, right? There's more to it than just kids going to school, being educated and coming home. And if they're not reading at home, if they're not learning math at home, if their parents aren't spending time with them,
I went over somebody's house one time. They didn't have a book. They didn't have a magazine or nothing.
They probably had 10 TVs, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, they did. Nothing. What do you read? Do you read a book? They even have a Bible. I said, listen, went into Kwame's office. Listen, I've been at 3 mayor's offices, Archer, Coleman Young, and Kwame. Coleman Young had lots of books. Archer, attorney, had lots of books and other things. And Kwame had lots of pictures. Nothing on his desk. You know that, and that's the truth. That generation did not read. That's why he got into all the fucking trouble, because they never looked at the historical part of how to run a city, who got in trouble. You tell them something, say this been done before. They are the media beat up on Coleman Young for having a limo that General Motors gave to him. This is how he dealt with it. They didn't know how to deal with the simplest of things. So yeah.
So you didn't ask me. I noticed this is the second time you've done it tonight, sir.
You had the fucking forum all night. You can't control this.
And he's pointing at me, and he cursing at me. Listen, I'm being nice tonight. I'm
you
not
want to
even
be with the big boys? I'm
listen.
cursing you.
So anyway, would I send my kids to Detroit public schools today? Well, I'm just like one of our viewers who said, no, I would not. The superintendent's not sending his kids to Detroit public schools, so why would I? But we have some viewers on here like Stick Shift 123 who says it starts at home. Deborah said the same thing. So I don't think it's just the schools. I don't think it's just the schools.
How you got a mama or a daddy or whatever, one parent that can't read or write themselves. So how it starts at home?
Listen, my grandfather went to the 4th grade, and my grandmother, I think she went to the 6th grade.
That's a whole different generation.
It's but the point is, her children and their children's children.
You got crackhead, you got generations of crackhead babies, drugs, and all kind of other shit that these kids dealing with. They done seen dead bodies. They done seen all kind of stuff. So, and I'm not blaming these kids. Some of them are traumatized. You know, if they make it to school, it's up to us to educate them. If they can get out of that hellhole of a house or the neighborhood and come to school, we should be able to give them the kind of education that they deserve.
And Steve, one of the things people fail to realize, and Adolph, you hit on a great point, and I think Jim or Allan also may have said it, and it could have been in the comments. Part of the issue right now is Dr. Martin Luther King said that you cannot ask a bootless man to lift himself up by the bootstraps. To that same token, a lot of these kids have parents from 30, 40 years ago who were not educated. So you can't ask them to go home and get educated by those that were not educated. That's why the community had to play more of a role of being involved. In addition to that, no one is not saying it should not start at home, but we also, and I think Vanessa comes from the same generation as myself. I don't know if my dad even finished high school, but he was someone that knew the importance of getting an education. And that's what's lost right now. A lot of these parents do not see the importance of getting an education. They just see a kid coming home with a C, and that's a success to them. They see them graduate. They see them graduating, and they see that it's success. They don't look into the level of how intelligent they are. They only see that they passed the 12th grade and now they have graduated.
You give them too much credit, because you get some of these kids that get promoted from kindergarten to 1st grade, and they walking around with a cap and gown on. Like, what they graduating from? They being promoted from the kindergarten to the 1st grade or the 8th grade. I drove by Spain School one year, and they had that little graduation from middle school, and they had a guy get out of a limo. He had on tails and a top hat in the 8th grade. I'm like,
but that's success for some of these parents that did not graduate. They're living vicariously through their kids.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I agree, but they're living vicariously through their kids. If you, as a parent, never graduated, then you see your kid ascending from kindergarten to 1st grade, 8th grade to high school graduation. Boom, that's their success.
It's not graduation. That's a promotion.
Well, they see the graduation because they didn't graduate.
Well, they ain't graduated. Kid ain't graduated. Shit. What do you mean?
It's moving on, but they don't interpret it that way.
Well, I'm interpreting that it don't make sense. You spend you rent a Maserati for prom and go to the Four Seasons Hotel. You giving them permission to make a baby on prom night and shit.
Hey, Adolph or Vanessa, Allan, somebody want to look at Tom's comment and opine on? I think it's pretty interesting, his point. I'm not sure I agree completely with him, but I think he's making a pretty decent point there.
Go ahead. And Tom,
before
I've known Tom since 3rd grade.
Then you can comment on Tom's position.
I don't want to get Tom and I have gone at it over Russia. I mean, look, I agree it's in everyone's interest for Russia, but there's the U.S. seems to be really siding with Russia more than Ukraine, and Ukraine's like being called, Zelensky's called a dictator. He's blamed for the war, and I know, there's a lot of justification. You say, well, they wanted to join NATO. Russia didn't want that. They were provoking them, whatever. But Tom and I disagree on some things, and he's a great friend, and I defer to anyone else who wants to.
Well, I don't think the world will be safe until Putin is out of it. That's my position.
I think evil guy.
Putin should have an accident somewhere, like he caused accidents for other folks. We're gonna take a break and come back. This is Detroit in Black and White. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Yeah, so well, we always gonna have some people don't like the Ukraine. They look at the history of Ukraine, they look at the history of Russia, but we all know that for Vance and President Trump to play the cameras and trying to force his hand and stuff, and Vance saying, apologize. How many times the guy gonna apologize and thank the American people? Every time he come over here, he thanked the American people for supporting them. He thanking the world. Or Marjorie Taylor Greene, so-called boyfriend, you need to wear a suit. Here this guy come from a fucking war zone, and he's supposed to wear a suit. I see Elon Musk wear jeans and a t-shirt and a baseball cap in the White House, and brought his little son, who's not even potty trained. Should have set him on Trump's lap. but that's it. When you listen to the victors goes to spoils, so they having their fun right now. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over what these people doing, because they're gonna run into a brick wall somewhere down the line. So,
well, when you have China saying that they're willing,
go ahead, Jim.
Well, when you have China saying they're willing to go to war with us, whether it's over tariffs or anything else, I mean, it's a scary time right now, and I don't think we can count. I don't think Putin is the answer for the U.S. personally.
Well, when you go to Fox News and get your Secretary of Defense, that's saying something. Or you go to the Senate and you got somebody that got a little sense, Rubio, but yet you see what they did to Rubio, they put him on ice. Like, fuck you. And he looked bewildered. I think he might be one of the first to go, because anybody with any sense is not going to keep putting up with that bullshit. Or you got a guy that says, I know how to cure measles, take vitamin A. Instead of taking a shot, Eric.
Yeah, the biggest disappointment last week of that charade was, in my opinion, Marco Rubio. He's supposed to be the Secretary of State, and he sat there like a bump on a log, I guess, thinking about smoking a Cuban cigar or something. But yeah, he was the biggest disappointment, because, of course, he's afraid of the orange man, but he still should have stood up. He should have said something. It made so many of them look so bad at that event.
So let me say this before you say something, Allan. I think this goes back to when we opened the show. Eric, you were saying that the president of the United States, he's won, and people need to get over it. People can't get over it because this guy is unreasonable. He is a bully. He is a dictator. And he's doing things that hurt the American people. We are Americans. And you know what? He did say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Some people believed him, some people did not. But we have to keep beating the drum if you don't like it. That is a way of holding somebody accountable. So I just want to say that. You go ahead, Allan.
I was going to say, no matter which side you're on, it was just so inappropriate to get into a debate. J.D. Vance told Trump at some point, he said, we should be doing this behind closed doors. And Trump is like, no, we're going to continue on the outside. I mean, it was a shit show created by him. He wanted to show how macho he is. He acts so tough, but he gives everything. He rolls over for all these dictators. It should have been, that conversation should have been behind closed doors. You want to go at it, you want to duke it out, whatever, do it behind closed doors. It was so inappropriate, but it's part of the reality TV show that we're now seeing every day. It's a reality TV show, and that's where he's most comfortable.
Well, minerals don't matter to a guy that's losing his citizens every single day by the hundreds and thousands. Minerals don't matter. The only thing on his mind is protecting his country and saving the lives of his people. So why are they surprised that that's all he wants to talk about? Because that's all I'd want to talk about if I was the president of Ukraine.
Well, you know what? He came over here in good faith, but he knew what he was up against. And you know what? If they want some trinkets, we can give him some trinkets. So.
And I understand everything that all of you are saying. It's just that for me, I just choose not to spend a lot of time talking about him, because at the end of the day, I see 11/5/24 as a decision made by the American people. That's how I see it. And we either do something during midterms or do something on November 7th, 2028 to
we're gonna
platform move forward.
We're gonna see what happens in Virginia, where the governor cannot run for re-election, and
one term,
and
Wisdom
there.
She's a legitimate candidate.
See how they vote, you know.
I think the Democrats have a good shot at winning in Virginia.
Well, that even if they don't,
let's just get good people winning, whoever they are. Why can't we focus on getting the best people?
Jim, who are you, Rodney King?
Can't we just break down some barriers? Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, and you see what happened to Rodney King? They drowned him, gave him some dope and drowned him.
Oh my God! You believe they? Who is they?
LA police.
Who is they?
LA police.
They
gave him drugs. They drowned him in his swimming pool. That's right.
That's easy to do.
Lord have mercy.
I agree with Deborah.
Adolph, I agree, Adolph. They did it to Jeffrey Epstein in jail.
Yeah, no question.
That's Deborah Harris, who says Jerry Springer show, the president.
Right.
Is she talking about our show or that show?
Jerry Springer stayed on for 20-something years.
I'm kidding.
Listen, I just want to give some of the comments from the viewers. Miss Sheila says, Adolph, you are a bully. David Porter says, it's not just the schools. Some of these neighborhoods don't have libraries. Some of these households don't have internet to help with tutoring. Whitney Clark said, amen, Adolph. You had Queen B who said, yes, Adolph. You also had Rhonda Williams, who pointed out spending a whole lot of money. She said, Adolph, you're right. But that bull crap is only here in the North. Southern children do not go through the extremes for graduation with materialistic clothing, hotels, and they're home by midnight.
Yes, they do.
I have a question for Adolph. When we went to school, did you feel peer pressure sometimes not to study or not to look studious?
Not to study. Yeah, nobody not to study, but not to be friends with you. I felt
No, you felt. Was there among some of the friends that you grew up with? Was there some? Did you ever feel any like, why are you going to class? Why are you studying?
No, because I like class.
This ain't the time.
Because I just thought I was smarter than the average person in school. I might not show that. I remember one report card had to be a 7th or 8th grade where I got 3 A's and the rest E's. I got an A in social studies, an A in science,
Mrs. Turner,
A in gym, and an E in rest of every other class. And it's like, how did you flunk these other classes? Because I didn't like them. You know, it's like there's some shit you know as a kid you do. You know, when you like stuff, you like it.
Right. One of our viewers said that, you know, as far as education is concerned, you know, you had your parents at home, but you also had that belt. And basically, he's talking about discipline.
I never got a weapon. I never got hit.
Well, that explains a whole lot.
I never got hit because I did everything.
That explains a whole
Whatever
lot.
my parents asked me to do, I did it. So,
but Vanessa, you can't even breathe at these.
No questions.
You can't even
breathe. What you say, Eric? You about to
you
say
can't
something?
even breathe at these students these days. So that's part of the problem too. They get away with, well, I won't say murder, but you cannot touch these kids. You can't even holler at them.
And you know what? We talk about education, but let's talk about these classrooms. And you and Eric, you and I have talked about this, and I know Adolph's wife is an educator. Listen, these teachers have a very difficult job. You can't say anything to these kids. You have to be a social worker. You got to bring them gloves, hats, food, and you're expected to make sure that they hit these milestones in the classroom. So the point that I was trying to make earlier, maybe I didn't do a good job of doing that. It has to be a whole community. It has to be a holistic approach. It can't just when you talk about well, these kids go to school and the parents are crack parents and blah blah blah. Listen, that may be true, but there has to be. You can't just say that it's the school. That the school has the responsibility. I think we as a society have a responsibility to make sure that these kids are educated. And I think that there has to be a holistic approach. And I think we have to support our educators.
You have the last word.
But even
your final thought, Allan.
My final thoughts. I think I've spilled all my thoughts, but I do. Look, I just want to again. With Jim, I mean, it's not that Trump doesn't do anything good, but he's so reckless with so much else. It's really putting the country in peril. He's put the wrong people ahead of the intelligence. He's cutting jobs. You know, I was watching a news report tonight about a guy who does, you know, involved in the weather service and stuff like that. They now can predict 5 days ahead as opposed to 1 day not so long ago. And it helps people get out, like in New Orleans for hurricanes and in the East Coast. And those people are all going away. And it just scares the shit out of me to what they're doing with no thought. There's no thought, and they don't understand government. They don't understand how government works.
Well, Jim.
Well, I agree with you. I think he has an opportunity, and I think like several of the last presidents along the line, he will eventually squander his opportunity. My point was more about his followers and not me specifically, right? The people that support him, whether it's 40% or 45 or 50 or 50, whatever the percentage is, they're pleased as punch with him. And I think part of their problem is they're blindly following the leader in their party. And I go back to, we should all look at
absolutely
people from the party we support, from the party we don't support. Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, to me, they're an outrage. Lindsey Graham is the worst, right? This is a guy that after January 6th said, count me out. 3 days later, he's playing golf with Trump, and he's worse now than he was then.
Kissing his ass. Eric, your final thought.
My final thought, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about education, and that's why I named this event on the 15th. Let's talk about it. education and solution to a very fixable problem, because at the end of the day, we know what the problems are. We need to come up with solutions, some solutions to fix that problem and get the community more involved. I mean, I just went through some credentialing for the mentorship group that I work with, and they use the same standards as the State of Michigan Board of Education. Even with conflict resolution with the parents have all the power. So I think it was Queen Bee or Duela that said you can pay them to be a teacher. That's one reason why teachers are checked out. They have no power. And it's a difficult job right now.
Vanessa, your final thought.
My final thoughts is I want to thank each and every last person that has participated in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to Detroit in Black and White. We're going to ask that you join us again on Friday evening at 8:30 p.m. and then again on Saturday morning at 10. I want to tell Rhonda Williams, Felicia Dean, Deborah Harris, Queen B, Marlon Holt, Day, Par Orga, Jill Sheridan. She's a frequent watcher. Thank you so much, Jill. Deborah Harris, as well as Bridget Huff, Duela Boyce, Tom Berkowitz. Thank you so much for your comments.
Tom Berkowitz we went to school with.
David Porter.
That's him.
David Porter.
That's him.
Derrick Henry.
Edward
Derrick
Altman.
Henry, absolutely. He watches all the time. Thank you so much. Sheila, thank you so much. And thank you for having my back. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of a Wednesday evening.
Well, I got to say something. Don't be trying to wrap up the show.
Good night, Bridget Huff. Hey, Sands.
Listen, you went to McKenzie, didn't you?
No, I'm not revisiting this conversation with you because you know what?
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you what Tom Berkowitz.
What time? Yeah,
Tom
I went to McKenzie High
father
School.
was the principal. The guy that was just on, he was the principal at McKenzie.
Oh, this guy that's on the
Sidney Berkowitz. Does that ring a bell? Sidney Berkowitz. He was.
I think he was.
What year was that?
Well, you probably was in juvenile lockup then.
You might have been in junior. You weren't there yet. You weren't there.
I'm like, no. When I was at McKenzie,
it was a lockdown. It was a juvenile detention facility.
How many schools did you go to?
See, here we go. We're gonna go through. Listen.
She went to 10 different schools.
By the time I graduated from McKenzie High School, I had gone to 7 schools. Seven schools. I went to DePorce and McKenzie. I went to 2 high schools.
Wow.
1 middle school and 4 elementary schools.
And she went to
guess what?
Rose.
I'm a testament to, hey, if you want to be successful, you can't be successful. You have to have that drive.
Okay, you got.
Haven't we taken enough of our friends' time?
We'll be back on Friday. This is Detroit in Black and White. Signing off.